That was a plug.
Yeah.
All right, other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What about readers who tell you that a person in your family is going to die within a certain time?
I have a lot of big issues with that. And I've heard both sides of the story of, you should just say whatever comes through. But in that case, and for the most part I agree with that. You should say whatever comes through, don't try to edit, because what is in your head as being unpleasant or whatever might be totally fine with the client, or vice versa. So for the most part, you want to trust your source and just put it out there. However, in the couple times that I've had a situation like that come up, my response was I pass it back up for a second go around, as it were, and say, I'm not telling this person this unless you can give me a really, really good reason or a way to avoid it. If I would never tell a client, no matter what my source was saying, that they or someone else was going to die if there was nothing they could do to fix it. Because that sort of thing has a very negative effect usually on people's lives. If it's something, and that's why I pass it back up and like, you got to give me a good reason why I'm about to tell someone something this horrible. I had a client come to me absolutely distraught, about 4.5 years after she had originally gotten this reading. And she said, I got a reading 4.5, almost 5 years ago now, and the reader said, your husband is going to die tragically in 5 years. There's nothing you can do about it. It ruined their marriage.
Wow.
Absolutely ruined their marriage, which had been pretty darn good up to that point. And even though she never really spoke to him about it, she said, I was never conscious. I was just pulling away from him. I was changing the way I acted. I was trying to prepare myself for this tragedy. She said, do you see it? I said, I got nothing, man. And she had, right after that first reading, gone to another reader, and it was completely up in her mind. And the next reader repeated the same thing. No other reader since those two has had this, but it completely destroyed their marriage. And now, and she's like, and it's coming up, and I don't know what to do. And I've seen her since that 5 years passed, and she was completely a wreck for an entire year. Even after that, completely a wreck for an entire year. He's fine. And there was no positive outcome to telling this client this. It may have, perhaps the reader felt that there was a, like ego or self-aggrandizement or something along those lines. But so what? You're a reader. The next person's going to come along and say, no, you were simply amazing. If you got an ego problem that big, find another business. And because your job there is to take care of the client and do what is right and proper and moral for that client. And to say something that is going to, if you're not a good enough psychic to know that what you're about to say is going to ruin someone's life, don't get out of the business. Do something else. And so I firmly believe that for the most part, no. Sometimes people do ask because they have a specific question about a relative who may be passing on. I have had a number of clients who've come to me saying, I have a relative with terrible Alzheimer's. It's been going on for a really long time. Why is he or she still hanging around? Is there anything that I can do? Not a pillow over the face, but is there anything that I can do to help move this along to allow them to pass over? And oftentimes if someone's been lingering in that sort of state, it's because they feel like they can't let go. The entity, the spirit is still very attached and feeling horribly guilty about abandoning people or whatever. And the best example I ever had of that was when it came to me, my mother has had Alzheimer's for 15 years. Anyone who knows about Alzheimer's knows 15 years is a super long time to be alive. She's pretty much gone. Doesn't recognize, she recognizes movement and there's a person and she'll still smile and that's about it. She's been having some painful and yet non-life-threatening ailments that we can't really take her to a doctor for because she doesn't know what the hell's going on. What do I do? And I said to her, it was of course very quick, and I said, your sister's made peace. Your daughters have made peace. The only person who hasn't gone and really made peace with your mother is you. I haven't even visited her alone in 5 years. I visit her weekly, but I haven't had the nerve to go into the room alone and all that time. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. You've got to go in there and you've got to sit with her and you've got to tell her it's okay. I'm all right. I can take care of myself, be nice about it, and sit with her and spend some time. And I said, when you do that, your mother's going to pass. So yeah, I did say that the mother was going to pass then. She said, okay. I got a lot going on at work, I can't do it until fall. It's like, okay. So I went to her mother's funeral that fall. And she had waited 3 months, she had a lot going on at work. And finally, in October, she had to go out of town at the end of October. She came back at the beginning of November and did the thing, sat with her mother. The next day, her mother started to crash. They had enough time to call all the family home. Everyone got home. They spent 3 days hanging out and getting back to know each other. And then her grandmother passed. Waited until the last person had gotten into town and gotten a chance to come in, and then was gone. After 15 years, about 5 of those of being pretty much gone. She introduced me to the entire family at the funeral, which was a little weird and creepy. But so yeah, that sort of thing. That's a different side of that prediction of death, but because there was something that we could do to make it positive, as opposed to just saying, there's nothing you can do. Yes?
What do you do when you have people coming to you telling you that they want to commit suicide?
I haven't had one of those yet.
Okay, I have a neighbor across the street that tells me that, reminds me about it every weekend.
You are very lucky.
I've had a number of very depressed people, and I do recommend counseling on a regular basis. I also, when it comes to health readings, I send people to doctors. I always say very clearly, I am not a doctor. I do not play on TV. I am picking up on X. I really think you should see a specialist. And I may be saying I need to send you to a chiropractor. I need to send you to someone who does acupuncture or Reiki or whatever is going to be best for that issue. Or oftentimes I do have a list of therapists and psychiatrists that I'm ready to whip out if I need to, and therapeutic techniques that I really approve, that I like, that I feel like work, as opposed to some that don't seem to, that I recommend to those people. I've also told people sitting down, your serotonin levels are wicked off. Are you on antidepressants or do you really need to go on? Because I couldn't tell the difference. Oh yeah, I kind of went off my meds and I'm not feeling very good. And I'm like, okay, first thing I'd like to do is recommend you go to your psychiatrist and get back on your meds. Now.
Well, I know she's on her meds, but...
Then you may want to consider suggesting that she go and have her meds changed. The other thing you might want to do is give her an article on the effectiveness of high doses of vitamin D on antidepressants.
High doses of vitamin D.
Vitamin D. We are, of course, not a doc. I'm not a doctor. I'm not prescribing anything. However, there's been some wonderful research done, and you might want to look into it and talk about it with your psychiatrist. Once again, you always want to be very upfront, especially in a situation like this. There are very strong legal ramifications. The AMA went after Edgar Casey like he was the devil and caused him numerous problems. Fortunately, he had some friends and clients who had enough money to buy him lawyers. But it's always very important to be very upfront about that sort of thing.
So there's lawsuits on Lexus with late Casey?
Probably. Yeah, I don't know how far. I don't know if the AMA ever actually went and filed a lawsuit, but they harassed the heck out of him.
He was jailed.
Oh, really? Oh, he was jailed. He'd be in Lexus. Oh, fortune telling. Look up fortune telling if you're looking in Lexus.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Most readings go great. But what do you do when you have somebody that they're either blocking it, just completely cynical, or they're so unfocused it's everywhere, or you just
not hooking up
personally
the person?
just don't like this person, do you just at that point say, can't do anything for you?
Yeah, I've given 3 refunds now.
So is there a way to say that?
18
Like,
years. Yeah, I said,
just not
I'm
working?
very sorry. Sometimes it's just not working. I'm not getting a good connection on you, and I don't want to waste your time, is a nice way to say it. There are some other readers here you might feel a better connection with, but I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling it. And I had that happen once at a psychic party I was doing, and I had to put up with impotence jokes for the rest of the night. However, I did my good moral and legal duty and gave her back her money. Now, for someone who you feel that you've gotten a connection, but they are then being absolutely unhelpful or really blocking you after you got the link in, I keep the cash. Seriously. I did a reading for a woman about a year and a half ago. She comes in and she's wearing her sunglasses and she refused to take them off because the back room that we were in with no windows was just too bright. Came in, she sits down with her arms crossed and her legs crossed. Okay. So I did my opening bit. I said, I'm gonna take a few minutes to center. I'll ask you to say your name and I'll do my opening bit, and you can ask any questions you want after that. I'm like, okay. So I do my opening bit, and she was like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, it's me. Still wouldn't uncross. So I got through my opening bit and said, all right, so is there anything in particular you'd like to focus on today, because I kind of run out of steam with just the basics. And she said, I don't know, stuff. Wouldn't look at me. Anything in particular? Are you interested in family? Are you interested in hearing about what's going on with those who have passed on? Are you looking for information on work or finances? I don't know, into the future. I felt like I was pulling teeth with tweezers from this woman for half an hour, but I knew I had connected with her. I was not giving her back her money.
Yeah.
I had done what I was contracted to do, and if she was going to sit there and go, well, I kind of have this business deal, and I'm not really happy with it. Can you tell me something about it? Can you give me the first names of any of the people involved? Lady, why did you come? So, yeah, sometimes there are situations like that. I say usually if it's you, give them their money back. If it's them and you're not getting anything right from the front, don't waste your time. If you've gotten in there and they're screwing with you, keep the cash. They're going to say bad things about you either way. They're going to say, no good at all, didn't get a thing. Got my money back, but just as well. So what? You're going to get bad mouthed. Keep the cash. Yes. Do you have another question? Someone else have another question? Okay. All right. Anyone else? Anything else?
Just a comment. When
Yes.
they talk about someone dying, it doesn't always have to be a physical death.
True. That's the other
It can
thing.
be a divorce, it can be a change in attitude, it can be many different things. But I don't like the ones who say, if I get something like that, I'll say, is there anything you would prefer not to know about? Because sometimes it won't go the way I so.
All right. Thank you all very much.